For the latest in strategic affairs, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon for updates.
Hello and welcome to StratNews Global. 2 weeks ago, our sister concern, BharatShakti.in, had hosted a conference on defense called India Defence Conclave. During that conference, a session was hosted by me and a discussion moderated by me on India's quest for self-reliance in defense and how all the three armed forces are trying to move from import dependence to self-reliance in equipment and platforms for the three armed forces. Joining me in the discussion were the Vice Chief of the Naval Staff, the Deputy Chief of the Army Staff in charge of procurement, and the Deputy Chief of the Air Staff. This week on Ask Nitin, that's the session that you are going to listen to and view. I am Nitin Gokhale. Good evening. We have a very interesting session coming up. Especially because we have the Vice Chief of Naval Staff and the two Deputy Chiefs of one of the Army and the other of the Air Force, who are the decision makers when it comes to deciding on what procurement has to be done, and especially in the new system that has evolved over the past couple of years about emergency procurement. And you can call it fast-track procurement if you want, because emergency is not continuous, it cannot last longer. So I would prefer to call it fast-track procurement. I don't know what these gentlemen think, but I'm going to ask them one by one. But let me start with Vice Admiral Ghormade about the current state of Navy's procurement and what is the emphasis these days. What is the Navy looking for in terms of self-reliance? Are you going to Indian companies more and more? Are they responding to your requirements? What is the status? If you can do a brief 2-3 minutes remark, and then we'll go around the table.
Thank you, Nitin. Firstly, the Navy has been in the forefront of indigenization and self-reliance right from many years. And therefore, over the years, we have nurtured a lot of industries, and we have been interacting with them for many years. And therefore, our thrust has always been to get indigenous items. We started our indigenization in 1960s itself, when the first ship, Ajay, was commissioned, and therefore it has been a progress towards a builder's navy. And therefore, we have gone in a very big way, especially recently with the setting up of the Naval Innovation and Indigenization Organization and TDAC, Technology Development and Acceleration Cell, where we have we launched the 75 challenges in July, and we are progressing very well. So therefore, indigenization is going well, and we are spending a lot of our budget towards the Indian industry.
That's very good to know, and you're right that the Navy has always sort of tried to encourage Indian industry. But I think even in the Army, General Dayal, I think of about last 3 years or so, if I remember correctly, I think you have gone to Indian industry for your immediate requirements on drones, counter drones, radars, and what have you. Even ammunition, I think you've gone to that. Give us a status of what's happening right now in the Army.
Thank you, Nitin. As far as the Army is concerned, Nitin has correctly mentioned, we have been kind of pioneering the Atmanirbharta Bharat for a very long time. And just to put a quantified figure to it, last year we signed contracts worth about 45,000 crores, out of which 87% was all on Indian industries. Now, as far as the overall capability development or the manner in which we procure things for the Indian Army, the focus on smaller things or lesser technology items like drones and routine items is the industry is well established. The challenge quotient is not very high. The issue or the focus area for us is looking at complex technologies or the equipment which we have traditionally been buying from foreign countries. And I must compliment the industry leaders who are all sitting here that in the past few years, there has been a very substantial increase and very good progress in development of large and complex systems, be it vehicle platforms, be it guns, be it air defense systems, be it infantry weapons, be it sights. In each and every field which is required by the Indian Army, especially due to the operational situation which is there on our borders, in each and every field, I can say with a lot of confidence that the Indian industry has risen up to the occasion. And today, we are in a position, in fact, in front of a very august gathering very recently, I confirmed that we will cross the figure of 95% procurement from Indian industry this year and subsequent years.
That's a very good figure.
Subsequent years, inshallah, it will be 100%.
100%. That's very good to know, yeah. Marshal Tiwari, the Air Force is like the Navy and maybe much more than the Navy. It's more technology intensive, and perhaps that is a big challenge for the Indian industry. And yet, of last 2 years or so that one has been interacting with the industry, even MSMEs, they are saying that the Air Force has taken the lead in procuring a lot of drones, counter drones, even electronic systems from the Indian industry. How have you made that switch? I mean, you find the standards of the Indian industry having improved, or is it something that you're willing to give them a chance to improve as they go along?
Okay. First of all, especially since you correctly mentioned that airborne systems have their own, dimensions, especially in terms of certification, the challenges of quality, certification, etc. But I am happy to tell you here that in the last couple of years, we have done a few things, we have taken a few initiatives, because there will be many here, probably small industries, who will vouch that in terms of hand-holding, we have gone out of the way, both on the ground and in the air. When it comes to testing the systems, a lot of the testing which we do are practically free of cost, because we bear the cost. So that is in terms of encouraging the indigenous industry. But more importantly, we threw up challenges, like you mentioned, on counter drone systems, radars, electronic systems, and things like that. And I'm happy to tell you that the industry has stood up to the challenge. And I think there is a lot of vibrancy, there is a lot of motivation. They just needed probably a little bit of impetus in terms of actual orders, so that the money flow and the cash flow is there. And in the last couple of years, many of our contracts have gone to the private industry. In the IDEX, which was started a few years back, Air Force was the first service to actually do a contract with one of the IDEX winners. And today he's in such a position that he's got so much of orders that he's not able to fulfill in the required time. So it's a happy situation that way. And I think with the kind of talent and ability that is there in the Indian industry, I have no doubt that they will come up to the quality and the time frame that is needed. Of course, we do hand-holding. There are sometimes issues of quality, but as we work on it, we find that they are come up to it and they are as good as anyone else in the world. So I think we are very happy with that.
That's very good to know. Problem of plenty is very rare in Indian armed forces from the Indian industry. So that's an excellent thought that you've given. I have, our core audience here is also foreign defense attaches posted in India. And one of the objectives of this forum, which is now in the 7th edition, has been to make them aware of the Indian industry and also the capability and the skills that the Indian industry has, maybe MSMEs, maybe bigger industries. One of the fundamental questions that is always asked to us by them in our interactions is, you are asking us to take Indian industry products, but they may not be. I'm coming this way again now, taking the round like this. One of the things that they say is, well, is this product in the Indian Armed Forces? Are they using it? If they are not, then why are you asking us to go to the Indian industry? So that has been one of the problems in the past. Has that problem been overcome now? Do you see, do you get any feedback from our own DAs posted abroad, or in the interactions you do with foreign military leaders when they come, that Indian industry is getting to a stage where exports can be also achieved, and they will all have the confidence that you have inducted that equipment in your own forces?
Okay, let me just tell you, since I'm talking from the Air Force point of view, first of all, before I came to Air Headquarters, I was actually heading the National Flight Test Center, which did the flight testing for the LCA. And I can vouch, because I have been on the development program of the LCA, that it is as good as any other aircraft in the world today. So we have worked a lot on it. It's a very, very safe aircraft. So a lot of systems on board the LCA are made in India by our own MSMEs, whether it is the head-up display, whether they are the smart multifunction displays, whether, there are certain critical radio sets and, the other things, EW systems, radar warning receivers, name it. A lot of them is happening at the MSMEs level, including even things like, the fuselage integration. Now, having flown for so many years in the development, we have matured to the stage that today it's a ready-made product available, and it's one of our flagship programs. And the Indian Air Force has supported it right through. So we are at this stage that we are at the cusp of so-called avionics and airborne systems revolution. And I think we have now the critical mass to build upon it and take it to the next level. And there are N number of Indian industries who are partners in this progress, and their products are actually flying on the aircraft. So I think we have reached the stage of maturity today.
Indeed, I can recall that after 2015, LCA has now really got that traction. People are asking for it. When it first went to Bahrain for its first air show abroad in 2015, January 2015. After that, now Malaysia is asking for it, other countries are asking for it. So what you say is correct. So I think that should answer the queries from our friends, foreign friends who are here in this hall in a very large number. That's what it is. But General Shantanu Dayal, the other point that comes up from the Indian industry is also that they are willing to join the exports push by the government for $5 billion by 2025. But again, when they go out, people ask this question. Now, you spoke about artillery systems, guns, other indigenous products that are coming through. What is the stage at which all these systems, the guns, artillery guns, or small arms that are there, has the Indian Army been able to push their induction into your own use for your own units? Where is that right now?
Thank you, Nitin. Now, carrying on from the point where Tiwari left, as far as exports is concerned, when we go to a foreign OEM to buy anything, there are two critical factors: quality and cost. Now, unless our products, despite it being used by the Indian Army or not being used by the Indian Army, unless it becomes competitive in quality and cost, the export market or the market by my dear DA friends who are here may not be as large. Now, coming to the specific question which you asked me about our position as far as platforms, big platforms are concerned, guns and tanks are concerned, we have made good progress, very good progress in the past few years. And I can say with a lot of confidence, our procedures are deliberate, and therefore some of these procurements take time. But all the major complex systems to be procured from the Indian industry has already been initiated, and there are various levels of procurement. Let me come to each specific issue. For example, as far as armored or the tanks are concerned, most of the requirements of the tanks have been made up, except for the futuristic requirement in terms of light tank and the future tanks, as we call it, FRCV as we call it. Now both these are in the process of getting final approval of the body which is there in the Army headquarters. Once that is there, and we have got the feedback from the industry that they would be in a position to make both these systems, which are some of the most complex and some of the most niche technologies as far as operational requirements are concerned. Coming to the guns, we have already made very good progress. As you are aware, we have already inducted K9 Vajra. ATAX is already in the process of getting inducted. The final touches or final trials are finishing. Hopefully by 1 or 2 months it will get over. The user trials are already over. It has been a good system. We are very satisfied with the results, and I can assure the friends, my foreign friends here, that it is a very good system, worthy of being matched with some of the best in the world. Then in the offing are 2 more systems which we have, that is the mounted gun systems, 2 types, 105 caliber and 125 caliber, 155 caliber. And second is the towed gun system or the basic gun, which is of a large number. I am already aware that few Indian companies are already made very similar guns. So moment we initiate the process, I am very sure, in fact, we are thinking of getting it some numbers through this, you want to call it fast track procedure, or you want to call it special powers, or whatever it is. Then the air defense complex systems in terms of successor air defense gun, in terms of fire control radar, tracking radars, in terms of low-level radars, and also in terms of handheld missiles or very short-range missiles as we call it. Already both from our design and development point of view as also from the point of view of being developed under the Make 2 route, both are progressing quite well. So therefore, I can say with a lot of confidence that most of our big platforms would be available for the foreign market to facilitate what we have done. Instead of giving order to only one company, which was the traditional practice, we have started the procedure of giving orders at least to 2 companies, if not 3. That means if it is a large order, at least 2 Indian companies will get the order, maybe in the ratio 60-40 or 70-30, thereby making 2 companies with that credibility of having provided equipment for the Indian Army. Also, all other companies which successfully qualify, we will certify that they have successfully qualified. However, because of the, maybe in the bidding process, maybe in the financial terms, but technically they are suitable for induction in the Indian Army. That we are ready to give to any other equipment which any of our Indian industry wants to field. We will try it out in our ranges and we will give the certificate, even if immediately the requirement for the Indian Army is not there.
That's a very extremely important announcement that you're making, or at least making people aware, because this has been a very important point that the industry has been making, that while we lose the bid and we don't get inducted, then nobody sort of believes us. So I think one must congratulate the Indian Army if you're going to do that.
Let me repeat it so that
yes,
people have could not catch it.
Right.
In addition to the procurement, if the Indian industry has made anything of military nature, which is required by the army or the land forces, and there is a potential for exports, you can approach us. Army Design Bureau is our nodal agency. We will provide the facilities of trials in terms of ranges, labs, testing through DGQ or DRDO, and thereafter certify that equipment on its successful completion that it is worthy of being inducted into the Indian Army. The immediately requirement is not there, so currently it is not getting inducted. However, as and when the requirement comes, it will be inducted. So that kind of certification can be provided, which can be used by the industry for the export needs.
That's absolutely great news, I would think, for the Indian industry, which does not necessarily get the order, but you get the certification. In the meantime, let's welcome the Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Hari Kumar. Let's give him a round of applause. And we'll continue with our discussion, Admiral. So, that is an extremely important announcement that you have made. But Admiral Ghormade, I also point out that the Indian Navy has done some recent, initiatives on Sprint, IDEX, and 75 technologies to be tried out. How is that progressing, that program which was sort of initiated by the Prime Minister?
You brought out clearly that in July 18 July, the Prime Minister launched 75 challenges for developing new technologies, niche technologies, which would be fielded within 1 year. And this is coinciding with the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. This, I must just say that firstly, we are very proactively progressing with these technologies. I must say that apart from inducting niche technologies, we are also looking at creating an ecosystem, and which is defense ecosystem, which will nurture further innovation and indigenization, and also accelerating innovation. You'll all be happy to know that just for these 75 challenges, we received as many as 1,100 proposals. And
It's a large number, yeah.
These 1,100 proposals, this really speaks very highly of the technical capability and the entrepreneurship of Indian industry. I'm really happy to say that this is a golden moment for all of us, for the Indian industry, and for our great nation, that something like this ability exists. So we have gone through this 1,100 proposals. We've, in fact, out of which we have already selected 150, over 150. Means to be exact, as of today, the figure is 158, and in the coming week, the numbers will increase, which have been utilized. And these 158 proposals actually involve 100 MSMEs and innovators. So these are the ones which will provide us the capability. And these, I must say, these are niche capabilities like blue-green lasers. We're looking at various advanced radar systems, communication systems, underwater systems. So these technologies are something which we can be proud of, and which we will be very happy to induct. And the way they are progressing, it's really heartening to see and this is happening actually because of a coordinated approach between the industry, the industry partners, the Navy, who's the end user, then we have the NIIO and TDAC, in addition, the Defense Innovation Organization. They are really working day in and day out. In fact, all this has been done in just last 2 months. We can imagine in 2 months, since 18 July till today, these proposals have been examined, and we have selected them, and they are being taken forward. So this is something we can be proud of, and we will make this a success.
I'm sure you will, because the backbone of any industry, any sector is, of course, the MSMEs, the tier 1, tier 2, the companies that are there, who are the main suppliers or the people who build the systems. But let me come back to you, Marshal Tiwari. This afternoon, the Chief of Air Staff was here, and in his remarks, he mentioned that in association with the base repair depots, the Air Force has indigenized some 48,000 spare parts. Is that the way forward? I mean, many of your aircraft, your systems are from foreign OEMs. For instance, Russian systems are there. Is there a trend for indigenizing more and more spare parts and manufacturing them here? How is that going?
So I think the point is right. Almost whenever aircraft or any system goes for servicing, there are some things which are mandatorily to be changed. So of those things like seals, washers, some aero lubes, etc., 98% have already been indigenized. So it's a fairly large number. And we took this conscious decision many years back. It is not something which has happened overnight. It's a process of more than last 20 years, where if you go wherever our BRDs are located, there is a very vibrant ecosystem of small MSMEs who are actually, supporting this and make it happen. And they are doing approximately a business worth about 600 crores. So that's the number we are looking at. And this is going to increase all the more as the recent conflicts have shown that spares can become a challenge. And therefore, we are only going to accelerate this program. And in the future, bigger systems, they are already in the process of indigenization. We are doing indigenization of a lot of our role equipment and ground support equipment that is practically made in India in many different parts, especially in the defense corridors. A lot of our tires and things like that are getting indigenized. In fact, we are right now, as we speak, already started the flight testing trials of the Lca tires, which we are early buying from UK, are now getting indigenized. So this work is happening at a very, very good pace. And I think there is a lot of promise, because we have seen that wherever we have actually gone to indigenous equipment, we have got a better terms, both in terms of quality as well as price, as well as durability. So it actually is a win-win situation for all of us.
It also sustains the industry, because after all, your revenue procurement is what sustains any industry really. But that brings me, General Dayal, to the point that the new fast track, what I call fast track, you call emergency procurements, has that helped speed up? Because I remember General Naravane, who was then the chief of Army Staff, sitting here, he had mentioned that we had done same 85% or 87% of indigenous industry requirement. Again, another round of emergency procurement powers have been given to you. Does that work in breaking down contracts and getting things faster? Should this be a institutional mechanism in the long run? What's your view?
Very interesting question, I must say. So the question is whether I will call it special powers should be institutionalized. Well, in a way, if you say it, we had these powers in 2020. We gave contracts under the same powers in 2021, and again we are going to give in 2022. So in a way, it is already institutionalized. But let me on a serious note explain this. You see, there is no in principle objection to institutionalize the whole thing. However, and since the large number of industry leaders are here, let me put it across the same question another way. Is the industry ready to get into this system? Because this system mandates or enjoins delivery of the item in a very short time frame. In this particular case, it is 1 year. Now, while small systems and very simple technologies can be produced and delivered in 1 year, but even the smaller systems, what we contracted in 2020 under special powers, are yet to be delivered to us. Now,
that could be a problem, yes.
So now let me explain this. You know, the three essential issues which we battle with when we go through these powers. Number one is the production time. Number two is, I will call it technology vetting. You can call it trials, you can call it testing, whatever it is. And third is financial vetting, the cost negotiation. Now, as far as production is concerned, as I said, simple system, no problem. Why we cannot go for bigger systems under emergency powers or the special powers is because we don't, as I see it from outside the industry, and whatever little I have learned from industry which is there in other countries, we don't have a system of a very a close-knit, harmonious relationship between one industry body which makes a particular subsystem, another industry body which makes another system, a conglomerate or a joint venture or a consortium. Now, we have consortiums, but the consortium is of one vertical. What is required is, as I have seen in some other countries, for example, when I was talking to one of these people who make tanks in Germany, they say they have a consortium of people who make the armor, who make the engine, who make the transmission, who make the sights, who make the gunnery. Now, whether that same equipment which is already in production is required, a little upgrade is required, a different type, a lighter weight is required, a heavier weight is required, all these people who are part of that consortium specialize in that. They are perhaps the best in the world. And therefore, anything they require, they don't have to go for individual contracts at that point of time. They are already a very harmonious and a very kind of a biological link between these two these companies, which facilitates the production of any complex system in a very expeditious and a critical time frame. That is the first point. When we come to technical vetting, now this is the responsibility of the services in the government. We have done a lot of actions, or we have taken a lot of actions. For complex systems also, we will only undergo a demonstration come evaluation. Obviously, we should be satisfied in that demonstration come evaluation that that complex system is worthy of being inducted without having it been put through these sustained and a deliberate process of
trials and
QAs
tests,
and
yeah.
trials and all that. So this time we will make an attempt, and since industry leaders are there, we will put through many of these complex systems under this special procurement process. Limited numbers, whatever is feasible in 1 year. Let us see what is feasible. This will also be, as far as we look at it, this will always be an harbinger or as a lead for larger orders to follow. And third is the cost negotiation. Now, what is the difference between normal procurement and special powers? In the normal this thing, the time taken for cost negotiation is too long. One of the reasons for it being too long is lack of, maybe for want of a better word, I will use transparency on the part of the government and our finance people, who are very good people, to understand the cost breakdown. Justification versus transparency. Justifying that cost versus giving the breakdown is the challenge. All the cases I have seen where the breakdown is given in a very, very transparent manner, it goes on very fast. So one of the things which precludes procurement of very, very complex systems or big systems under special powers is this issue. If we have that system of greater transparency of the breakdown of various equipment and sub-equipment, then maybe it will be very fast, because there is hardly any scope of negotiation, hardly any reason for justification.
So I suppose the industry as well as the services and the finance people, all of them have to mature and come to the realization that system is changing and that is required. I think that's the point that you're making. Admiral Ghormade, what's your view on this fast track procedure or the special powers? Have they helped the Navy get what they wanted in the past couple of years? Has that fast tracked the procurement?
Yeah, it definitely has fast tracked the procedure for us using the emergency powers, which we have done in 2021, and we have been able to get the right indigenous and even some spares and ammunition which was required, which for meeting our requirements, and we've been able to do them in a time-bound manner, following all the procedures, and we have been able to achieve. So it's been a very good.
One last round of questions to all of you. Let me ask you, Admiral Ghormade, again. Going forward, the one example of INS Vikrant being the first indigenous aircraft carrier being inducted into the Indian Navy, that has created an ecosystem. Does that help in your future shipbuilding process and shipbuilding industry has come of age? So does that help the Navy going forward to completely indigenize and not sort of go into getting some of your sensors, some of your electronic equipment, all that, or engines, for instance, I think is a weak point, perhaps the gas turbine engines. Is that going to be kind of a push because of the success of INS Vikrant being inducted?
Yeah, very much. In fact, INS Vikrant, the indigenization content is 76%. And whatever we have achieved, there are many, many takeaways which we have achieved from the construction of the indigenous aircraft carrier. One of them is, of course, the fully indigenous steel, which was developed with DRDO, Steel Authority of India Limited, and the Navy. And this steel, DMR 249, has been indigenized, that a warship grade steel, the entire aircraft carrier was made, and all new warships that we are constructing almost now 43 warships which are under construction indigenously. The steel will be used as the indigenous steel. So that's a big useful aspect. Then we have developed almost more than 100 MSMEs which have come, and a large number of vendors. And they have, whether it is electronics, whether it is the complete cabling, whether it's the equipment on board, electronic systems, electronic warfare systems, all these are being made indigenously. And this has given a special push. So we will be able to utilize these in our future shipbuilding. So it's been a big takeaway. I think we need to just nurture it, make sure, build much more. And we are progressing very fast. Actually, I think the industry is coming of age, whether it is weapons and sensors, which are the ones which we need to. The fight component, we are working very hard. I think the industry is also showing us lots of promise.
That's great to know. General Shantanu Dayal, taking off from what the Vice Chief of Navy was saying, what is the role that the MSMEs are playing in this whole new transformation that we are seeing towards self-reliance in the Indian defense sector? What is your experience as far as the MSMEs are concerned?
MSMEs obviously have a big role to play as far as the Indian Army's capability is concerned. There are large number of new technologies which are emerging today in the environment. And these technologies have various forms, diverse forms. So therefore it is more practical for small industries and startups who can make this diversity into a reality which is required in the form which is required by the Indian Army on the front. You see, operational requirements are a little dynamic in nature. It keeps changing. Now, to have the procurement also as flexible as the dynamic operations need is a little challenge for big industries because they have big assembly lines. It comes very easy to the MSMEs. And this quality of MSMEs, this quality of startups is what the Indian Army is utilizing, exploiting, if I may. Now, large number of most of these niche technologies or new technologies which has been now available to in the environment has all been or mostly been procured by the Indian Army from MSMEs. Last year we gave a contract worth about 3,000 crores to the MSMEs, and our aim this year to increase that numbers. We have various forums which I think everybody is aware in terms of IDEX, in terms of TDF, in terms of Make-2 procedure. In that also a large number of MSCs are participating to facilitate the work of MSMEs because there are financial constraints, there are technological constraints as far as MSME is concerned. What we have done is we have ensured that the trial procedure, their checking procedures are very, very shortened, very, very simplistic. One trial only. Even if there are certain inadequacies, we accept that inadequacies as a Mark I or as the initial prototype by limited numbers. Thereafter, give him some time after the first contract is over to further improve upon it, and if he is able to do so by a larger number. So in that form, most of these like drones, small counter drones, jammers, some smaller sights, some aiming devices, something to add on to protection of the infantry soldiers, something to add on to his various sites at night. All these are now, we are sourcing these orders to the MSMEs. And we are getting good results, and we will do everything to encourage the MSMEs.
That's good to know. Marshal Tiwari, final word to you. LCA so far has sort of gone through the process of the development and then now coming to a stage where the Air Force has accepted it. You also announced the sanction for LCA Mark II, development of LCA Mark II. Will that help accelerate the MSME's role and the skill development or the requirement to be met in the Indian MSME sector or even the Indian industry? LCA Mark II, what role will it play?
Yeah, right. The LCA Mark II is an important program for us. Of course, it's a build-up on the Mark I, and it is important because the MSMEs associated with Mark I, a lot of them will also get associated with Mark II, and subsequently with the AMCA, which is going to come up. So this gives some continuity and a future to the MSMEs, because finally they have to look at a business sense. So it makes business sense to have this program running, and the capability of the aircraft is only going to get better and better. So that will naturally spur the industry also to look at newer innovations and make sure that it stands the technological test of time. And once that happens, you will find that I'm quite confident, and there already are many MSMEs which are plugged into the global supply chain. That is important in the aviation sector, because the numbers should not be just enough to support the Indian Air Force.
So you are the only customer for them here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So finally, they have to look at for it to make economic sense, that their product should be good enough that it can fit in anywhere. And today, many of the MSMEs here and even bigger companies are supplying and part of the global supply chain. So once this manufacturing critical mass is set up, it will only improve, and I think there is a real bright future ahead for us.
So really the takeaway from this session for me as someone who runs a portal that supports self-reliance in defense is the fact that all three services are actively promoting Indian industry, not only promoting but also supporting MSME efforts and indigenization in a very big way. So a round of applause to the gentlemen who are responsible for this.